There was one rule understood by every German tanker in 1941. You do not fear Soviet armor. For decades, German officers drilled the same belief into every recruit. Soviet tanks were slow, clumsy machines, poorly built, poorly maintained, and poorly crewed. You were told that a well-trained panzer crew could tear them apart with discipline, optics, and doctrine. The experts insisted that Germany held the advantage in engineering, in tactics, and most importantly, in certainty. And certainty is the most seductive illusion in war. This belief travelled with you as your Panzer III rolled across the frontier on June 22nd, 1941. Every briefing reinforced the same message. The Red Army would collapse under the weight of blitzkrieg. But in the summer of 1941, on a dusty road outside Minsk, one moment shattered the rule and shattered the confidence of the most mechanized army in Europe. And Hans Schäufler was there when Germany realized the T-34 was their worst nightmare. Hans Schäufler was 19 years old, young enough to believe in certainty, old enough to know that certainty could get you killed. He served as a loader in a Panzer III of Panzer Regiment 5, part of the 4th Panzer Group, smashing its way towards Smolensk. He was quick-handed, precise, and steady under fire, traits every loader needed if they hoped to survive the pushing and shuddering chaos inside a cramped 20-ton steel box. By July 1941, his regiment had fought dozens of engagements. Burned-out Soviet T-26s lined the roads, BT-7s lay overturned in ditches, and every destroyed Soviet tank seemed to confirm the rule: their armour breaks, ours doesn't. But that confidence masked a brewing crisis, because deep inside Soviet factories at Kharkov and Stalingrad, a new machine had already been forged. A tank with 45mm of sloped armour that turned German shells at angles they had never tested against. A tank with a 76.2mm gun that outranged every German medium tank on the front. A tank with wide tracks built for mud the Germans hadn't yet seen. German intelligence had missed it, German doctrine had ignored it, and German tankers like Hans were about to face it, unprepared. By early July, reconnaissance units reported new unknown Soviet tanks disrupting armoured spearheads. Officers dismissed these reports as exaggeration, panic, misidentification. But on the morning Hans rolled toward a junction near the village of Seno, he saw what those reconnaissance units saw. A silhouette unlike anything in his training manuals, a shape that made his stomach tighten. The moment was coming. The alarm comes first, a sharp crack through the radio headset. Achtung! Feindpanzer voraus! Unknown type, multiple, closing fast. Hans braces as the Panzer III grinds to a halt. The turret hums as it rotates. It's hot inside, over 45 degrees Celsius, and the engine heat seeps through the steel floor. He hears it before he sees it. A deeper engine note, throaty, strong, not the high-pitched rattle of the BT series. Then it appears. A T-34 breaks through the tree line at 800 metres, sloped armour glints in the sun. A long 76.2mm gun tracks side to side. The driver's hatch is angled like a wedge. The tank looks predatory, lean, angular, purposeful. Hans's commander snaps, "Load APC, schnell!" Hans slams a 3.7 kilometer armour-piercing composite shell into the breech. The gunner fires, the shot streaks across the field. Clang! It ricochets off the angled hull like a stone skipping across ice. Hans freezes. Another round. Faster! Reload! He jams the next shell in. Fire! Clang! Another bounce. The T-34 turns its turret toward them. Hans hears the commander curse short, sharp. 700 metres. The Panzer III reverses hard, treads biting into dirt, engine screaming. Another T-34 emerges, then another. 3, 4. A whole platoon. Every German tank on the line opens fire. Every shot bounces. Hans feels the vibration of the enemy's return fire before he hears it. A deafening crack hits the Panzer III's frontal plate. The tank rocks. Dust rains from the turret roof. The commander shouts over the noise, but Hans can't hear the words. 600 metres. Another German Panzer III takes a hit. Flames erupt from its engine deck. The hatch bursts open and a black smoked figure falls out, rolling, screaming. Hans's heart hammers. Load heat! Load heat! But they don't have heat. They don't have anything that can reliably penetrate a T-34 at this range. Hans loads another AP round anyway. Fire. Clang. 500 metres. The T-34 fires again. A Panzer II disintegrates, turret blown clean off, landing 5 metres away. The German line buckles. The commander yells for a flank shot, anything that isn't the sloped front. The Panzer III swerves, treads grinding as they reposition. 400 meters. Hans loads. Fire. This time the shell hits the turret ring. A spark, no penetration. The T-34 doesn't even slow down. This is the moment every German tanker realizes this tank is beyond anything they were told. 300 meters. Another T-34 charges directly at them, straight on, full speed. The commander shouts, "All guns on the leading tank, fire at will!" The crew unloads everything they have. Hans works like a machine. Shell, breach, fire, recoil, spent casing clattering onto the floor. Shell, breach, fire. The T-34 stays unstoppable. Then at 250 meters, the German 50mm gun finally bites. A lucky hit. Lower glacis, nearly flat. The shell punches through. Black smoke bursts out. The T-34 slows, stops. Its crew bails out, 2 men on fire, but the others keep coming. 4 T-34s now, moving, firing. German nerves shatter. And this, right here, is the revelation. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honoured if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage and shock and adaptation deserve to be told, and by subscribing, you help ensure they aren't forgotten. The fight continues. 200 meters. Hans loads their last AP round. Fire. Clang. The commander orders full retreat. The Panzer III reverses down the slope, engine roaring, turret still firing, blind suppression shots to slow pursuit. The crew can't hear each other. They communicate with taps, gestures, instinct. A final enemy shell whips past, inches above their turret roof. And then, silence. The Germans fall back behind infantry and anti-tank guns. That day, Panzer Regiment 35 loses over 40 tanks to fewer than a dozen T-34s. No amount of training, no amount of confidence. No amount of doctrine prepares them for what they faced. Hans Schäufler writes later, "We fired at it again and again. The shells bounced off like pebbles." What German tankers didn't know that day was this. The T-34 wasn't a rare threat. It was the future. By autumn 1941, entire German divisions report similar encounters. Panzer III and IV shells bounce at 700 meters. Anti-tank crews panic when T-34s shrug off hits that should have destroyed any known Soviet tank. Word spreads upward. General Heinz Guderian personally inspects captured T-34s and is stunned by the armour geometry, the diesel engine, the wide tracks. He sends urgent reports to Berlin demanding immediate redesign of German armour. The impact is seismic. The Panzer III is declared obsolete. The Panzer IV is upgunned. The Panther is conceived, its sloped armour directly inspired by the T-34's design. German doctrine, once built on speed and overconfidence, shifts toward heavier guns, stronger frontal armour, and specialised anti-tank detachments. And all of this began with moments like Hans's, moments when German certainty broke. Hans Schäufler survived that day near Senno. He survived the retreat. He survived the long, brutal winter that followed. He later wrote down his memories so future generations could understand what it felt like when the unstoppable met the unprepared. His words remain some of the clearest insight into how individual soldiers grappled with the shock of the T-34's arrival. Many of the men of Panzer Regiment 35 did not survive the Eastern Front. Young tankers, 19, 20, 21 years old, carried into battles their officers believed could not be lost. To this day, military historians still point to that summer of 1941 as the moment armoured warfare changed forever. A moment where a single tank design forced the most advanced army in Europe to rethink everything it believed. And that is why this story matters now, because certainty is always fragile. And in war, underestimating your enemy is the most dangerous rule of all. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Hans Schäufler and the men of Panzer Regiment 35 do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.